now for today's quick shot of Sips, Suds, and Smokes.
Welcome to this Sips podcast episode where everything good in life is worth discussing. I am one of your hosts here at the table, good old boy Mike, and joining me here at the table is...
good old gal Julieanna.
This is a quick shot Sips episode featuring a new distillery and some new products from Bardstown Bourbon Company. Well, here's what we're going to discuss for this episode. We actually have two expressions called the Collabor&tion, featuring a 10-year-old bourbon that's been finished in a Brandy barrel, and another product, again, a 10-year-old bourbon that's actually been finished in a Mistelle barrel.
Okay, I'll bite. What is the definition? Well, I know what the definition of a brandy is, okay? I have had brandy. I enjoy brandy. But what is Mistelle?
It is a French word, a very fancy French word for unfermented grape juice blended with an unaged brandy. So then it's aged in a bourbon barrel from Kentucky. But let's talk about the new distillery first, and probably in a much better French accent.
Okay, hold on a second. It started French, and then it went pirate, and then was there Creole in there?
There's probably Pepe Le Pew.
Wow. Okay.
Well, that's where I learned all of my fake French accent, was from Pepe Le Pew, so I can blame it on that character.
That explains a lot about
Oui.
That explains a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. So, it's rare for a new distillery to be built in Bardstown. I mean, it's like the Mecca, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, the area is home to so many already, like Heaven Hill and Barton, and they're just around the corner for Bardstown Bourbon. So, there's lots of speculation if this was going to be a contract distiller, which, I mean, heck, it would make sense, I guess. Mm-hmm. Many have watched this enormous complex rise from the cornfields just south of the Bluegrass Parkway. Steve Nally, who was the former master distiller at Maker's Mark, has the same role now at Bardstown Bourbon. The question about what they plan to do is finally being answered as well. They are indeed contract distilling, but they are also working on their own product in parallel as well. We want to keep with the mystery and just say, who are they distilling for?
So the whole place is a showpiece. I went on a hard hat tour during the construction right after the enormous column still was mounted in place.
Wow.
You could have seen the still from space. It was just gleaming with bright Vendome copper. I mean, you and I have walked up to stills like that, and it's like, oh yeah, baby. Yeah. Whatever's going to happen in there, I want some of the good stuff.
It's special.
That still is... so they jacket it, so you can't see the copper anymore.
That's a bummer.
Well, and the reception hall and the educational areas that they had built out are now done as well. So these are the first Bardstown Bourbon products. They're all sourced from MGP, which is another distillery, completely, featuring a 10-year bourbon.
Cool. And
then they wanted to put a local twist on it by collaborating with local distiller Copper & Kings. Now, their flagship product, the Butchertown Brandy, is the best brandy made on U.S. soil.
Yeah, it is.
So the name of that distiller is Brandon O'Daniel, and he always loves to put a sonic twist on everything. They finished these products also in some rather uncommon choices as well that we'll talk about as we go through each of these.
Okay. Well, we'll be rating these products today from 1 to 5, with 1 being the worst and 5 being the best. Let's get to the first one, which is a brandy finish. Both of these at shipping at cask strength, and the brandy finish is at 113 proof.
Yeah, so let's start right there with the cask strength. So you and I both have had healthy samples of these multiple times, and at least for the brandy one, did you find that you could enjoy it at cask strength, or did you add a little bit of water to yours?
I needed to add a little bit of water to it.
It was really harsh, I thought, just at cask strength. Very abrasive. And, the one thing that we'll talk about in our tasting notes for this is acetone. And definitely at cask strength, that was the very first thing that caught me, was a very acetone-forward experience. And I think that was creating a very harsh element to it as well.
Yeah, that needed to have some water to help let it breathe out a bit. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So we definitely would say that for the brandy one, definitely just choose to add a little bit of water, and you'll find that it'll turn, at some point for you where, the product will kind of open up. And it did open up, quite a bit. I didn't really find, it really took a whole lot, water to open up. I mean, I probably added 2 drops to maybe a half an ounce,
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I was right there with you.
Yeah, it wasn't really, so don't ever think you have to like drop a whole ice cube or something like that,
No.
to completely dilute this. I think you would lose the experience. So let's talk a little bit more about, some of our tasting notes. I already said it was kind of harsh, but even after adding some water, I still thought, it was harsh, and that acetone was still just quite prevalent, although it just wasn't like invasive, as it was.
No, but it lingered a bit. It lingered throughout the whole thing, from beginning to end. I just kept wondering when the acetone was going to finish.
I kept on waiting for a lot of things, but some other flavors that I picked up, cocoa. There was almost like a powdery chocolate kind of thing going on in the aroma as well. I don't know if you've ever accidentally kind of like jammed your nose in a quick, a chocolate mix.
Oh yeah.
And because it has that powdery component of the sugar, and the cocoa just really almost it makes you want to cough. It's not a pleasing, kind of experience, and that's kind of what this cocoa presence was. It was like, that doesn't belong there.
Yeah, almost like a buttery, like a cocoa butteriness, as opposed to like chocolate cocoa, if that makes any sense.
Sort of.
Thanks.
Well, we're both really struggling to come up with adjectives of describing this, because the combination of both brandy and whiskey, we've had both of these. A lot of those products separately. And in fact, you and I have both tasted the Butchertown brandy many, many times. Mm-hmm. And we've tasted it in a wide variety of, versions of brandy that they make. The one version that we went through and we reviewed was the one where they dropped it in all the beer barrels.
Yes. Yes.
I forgot the name of that series that they did, but, they were in all these, 4 or 5 different, beer barrels that were bourbon barrels that were aging beer, and then they dropped a brandy in it, afterwards. And it was kind of interesting and innovative and different. And I think that's a little bit of, kind of what's going on here is I don't think you've ever tasted anything quite like this. So I've had brandy finished bourbon before, but not like this.
No, this is very aggressive and very bold. And I mean, I give them props for thinking completely outside the box on both of these expressions.
Did they miss the box? Because, some other things I wrote down was, a real earthy, kind of presence to it. And that's not something I really would have characterized either both a really great bourbon or definitely not brandy that I would have written down, kind of a soil, earthy, kind of tone to it.
Yeah, it seems like they're trying to fight each other, to be on top.
Yeah, I would definitely say that's somebody is trying to think about who's going to be on top. All right, so
what did we end up rating this?
Well, I had a few more tasting notes around
sorry,
this. So
sorry.
I just thought the brandy was overwhelming the whiskey, and I found myself almost trying to deconstruct what was going on with the brandy instead of what was going on with the whiskey, and so it's just. I think it's really difficult to get around to it. Well, our SIPS rating for the Bardstown Bourbon collaboration with the brandy finish is going to be a 2. All right, we'll take a quick break right here. We'll be right back with our second product from Bardstown Bourbon Company.
The stars in cobalt blue. Look to the left, to the right. Keep your eyes on the road, my darling. Wondering if we're only passing through. land is yours forever, sweet love.
Hey, welcome back to this episode of Sips, Suds, and Smokes. Today, this is a quick shot Sips episode. We're talking about a couple of products from the Bardstown Bourbon Company, a couple of brand new products that are recently available. JB, what are we going to talk about next?
So, bottle number 2 is the same 10-year bourbon, but this time it's finished in a Mistelle barrel that held Muscat grape juice. Again, this is offered at cask strength, but this one is a little bit nicer. It's 94 proof.
All right, so I'm going to remind everybody what Mistelle is, and I won't use my very good French accent. So, it's, again, Mistelle is just unfermented grape juice. It's blended with unaged brandy. Then it's all aged together in a bourbon barrel. So that's kind of what's going on with a Mistelle barrel itself. So even after they would have made the brandy, they would have dumped it out, and then they would have started over and put the whiskey back in the Mistelle. So you have a bourbon barrel, and I really wonder if they used the original, bourbon, that was in that barrel, made a Mistelle, and then dumped that out, and then put, basically the bourbon back in. So
is the lime in the coconut, or is the coconut
I don't
in the
know.
lime?
I got lost in there somewhere for sure. Not really quite sure what was going on. I would definitely say that I'm not quite sure whether the chicken or the egg came around there first.
Okay, but a very innovative idea, nevertheless.
Yeah.
When was the last time you had something in a Mistelle
All right,
barrel?
that's the 6th time we've used the word innovative. So, I'm just, the first thing that struck me was...
Ooh, it's a formidable scent. It stings the nostrils.
Yeah.
In a good way.
The thing is, so they introduced this at a big media event, and so I was watching a lot of the other, press people that were tasting this, and I've sat now and I've actually tasted this with 3 different groups. I tasted it with the press corps that was there that day when they introduced this, to the world. Then I had a smaller tasting group of whiskey nuts that I was with that afternoon that were there for the Kentucky Bourbon Festival.
Sure.
And watched their reaction to it. I have never seen some people contort their face quite that way, around, when they were tasting. And I don't think any of them used the word innovative. Most of them were saying,
I think it sucks.
I think that sucks.
I think it sucks.
Yeah, so, I think that, so part of me was, are they reacting to the novelty of tasting something that they've never tasted before?
Sure. Sure.
I
mean, how many of them are Mistelle connoisseurs to begin with?
Yeah, and so that's, I think part of the novelty that's going on with this is, so my impression of a Mistelle product is it's basically a plan with no plan.
Sure.
I mean, I think there's a good reason why you don't see any products on the shelf that are made, in a Mistelle barrel, because typically the unfermented grape juice that they're working with is usually a blend of grapes. They're usually not one variety. And the main thing that somebody's looking at in making a Mistelle barrel is they're just looking at the bricks, which is just the sugar content within the juice itself.
Sure.
Whether the juice tastes great or not is just kind of way after the fact,
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you can... Welch's grape juice has like a very common flavor profile. In other words, they don't want that variance to move at all. In grape juice.
Very consistent. Very
Right.
consistent.
And that's born out of a combination of the variety of grapes that they're using, probably some good old-fashioned chemistry, and then they're blending, some things to, make all that happen consistently all over the world.
Sure.
That doesn't happen at all with, the type of grape juice they're working with here. It's like they've gone through 20 different fields and 20 different, vineyards, and they're just using grapes that didn't blend well with other things, stuff that's ripe, stuff that's underripe, that they're typically using, for the grape juice.
In other words, Russian roulette.
Yeah, pretty much. I think that's pretty exactly what's going on. Well, and then you have the brandy itself. And so, Now you have, sometimes they'll use the same, they'll use different fruits, to make brandy. And they might have used, grapes, or they could have used strawberries or apples or,
whatever. Yeah.
It could have been a fruit blend for all you know.
Sure.
For the brandy that they've made.
So did those fruits play well together? Yeah.
So, it's like you're looking at a combination of, was the grape juice working really well with the brandy to begin with, and then you look at what was kind of left over, after all of that happened, and they dumped all that out, and they were left with this barrel. And so they were talking about this, actually what it looked like inside these barrels. There were like stalactites or stalagmites. I forgot. Depends on whether you're looking from the bottom of the barrel or the top of the barrel. But you're looking at basically all these columns of sugar that were just kind of lacing, inside the barrel itself.
That's impressive.
Well, you would think so, but, when you're putting something in a barrel, you actually don't want a whole lot of the residual product in the barrel itself. I mean, a lot of people, you rinse the barrel out before you put something in it.
Oh, yeah.
You do that with beer, right?
Oh, totally.
Yeah. So I think that there were some aspects of maybe the residual product that was in this barrel, possibly, interacting with some of this as well, because that really caught my attention, when they said that. Well, let's get back to a little of our tasting notes of, what we thought of the 10-year whiskey that was with in the Mistelle barrel. The first word I wrote down was floral. Yoyes,
got a lot of floral.
Yep.
I mean, I have to admit there was acetone on the front end too. As like a youngish sort of blend.
Yeah, but not like a corn.
No. Yeah,
not like a corn young thing.
No. But floral, yes, like almost too heavy floral for me. Like I was not expecting it.
Yeah, there are some light ryes that have, some 2 and 3 year ryes that have this big blooming, floral presence about them, as well. So, and that really kind of threw me off because I wasn't expecting, that much going on. The second thing I wrote down was very earthy again. Not the same kind of earthy as in the brandy.
No, this is a different earth.
Yeah, this is
a different continent.
Yeah, totally. It's I don't know how to describe the soil mechanism or earthiness here. It's not it's just dirt.
It almost tastes lava-ish, if there is such a thing. Like very mineral-y. Yeah,
that's a good way of describing it. Because there's not really a whole lot of aroma. It's more of a terroir, kind of component about, the earthiness in this. Well, the last thing I wrote down was actually sweet, but this is not a good sweet.
It's an odd sweet.
This is like a part of sweetness that you don't want any part of,
I wonder if you licked this stalactite, if you would get that kind of sweetness from it.
No, but I would take a picture of you doing that, Julieanna, and then I would go, yo, man, look at this. Watch her. I said, you can't put your tongue on that. And there you go. You're that kid that you put your finger in the light socket, right?
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's always that one.
Hey, look, Dad told me no. Of course I was going to do it.
Mm-hmm. This is directly an aspect of being from Pennsylvania, right? Is that it? Okay. Well.
I didn't say anything. I'm sure they do it in Kentucky, too.
Yeah.
It's universally going against Dad.
Yeah. I just... the combination of watching, those three tasting groups and then even watching our own reaction, and we know our palates really well.
Yeah.
And we taste thousands of things, all year long, across the board. And I just really have struggled, to say this was a good idea. It was a combination of a compromising idea. There may have been some execution thing that just maybe not happened quite this way. It's very difficult for me to say that I'm glad I tried it, but there's just no way I would go back to this.
No, I am too. I mean, it's very unique and quite memorable. And I just wonder if maybe the Mistelle was the best way to go. I don't know.
It's quite pungent.
Yeah, it is definitely pungent, and it just, I don't know. There's just a lot of things that are not going on. I didn't really find there's balance, of anything. And I've watched too many people, try this, and, we've gotten through Amaro and Fernet, and, I was even looking at the chocolate brandy that you had over there and smelling that, and, I actually made a pleasing face around the chocolate brandy. But this, I really can't go there with this. It just, it's a little too difficult.
Yeah, it is. It's very complex.
Well, our SIPS rating for the Bardstown Bourbon Company 10-year whiskey that's finished in a Mistelle barrel is going to be a 1. Well, that's it for our show for today. It's been a quick shot episode where we've talked about these products from Bardstown Bourbon Company. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and you can catch more of our episodes online, including our regular weekly show every single Friday. That's when it's released online. It's a weekly show that's released weekly.
It is.
Yeah.
That's what makes it weekly.
I think I need some more of the Mistelle. Well, thanks for joining us for this quick shot episode. For now, this is good old boy Mike asking you to come back, join us once again, and keep on sipping.
This has been a One Tan Hand production of Sips, Suds, and Smokes, a program devoted to the appreciation of some of the finer slices of life. From the Dude in the Basement Studios, your hosts, the Good Old Boys, will see y'all next time.